Hello and welcome to another episode of SoFly. My name is Mitch, and we've got Aldo here.
Hey, everybody.
And I'm sipping away on a delicious Spellbound Windbound. That's a little callback to something you'll hear in the show. I guess that's not a callback because people haven't heard it yet. That's more of a forward back. But that's what you'll hear in the interview. A little joke there. Listen for that. Hello, welcome to the show here. What are you cracking open, Albino?
Well, I'm also cracking up a delicious Muskoka Brewery beer. Their new Margarita Goza.
Ooh. Now I need to know. The reviews are in. What is it like?
Pretty fucking tasty.
Good?
Gozas, yeah, Gozas.
I like
I know
Gozas.
we don't have to go too crazy into beer knowledge here, but
No.
Gozas are salted sours. So if anybody knows what a margarita is, a little salt rim on that shit. This is really good.
And it's Gose, right? Is how it's spelled?
Yeah.
I never knew how to pronounce it. When I go to the
Goza.
bar, and order one, I'm always like, I'll have the Gose, please. The goose.
It's German, so
It's really good. But yeah, this Windbound's delicious. This, of course, is the Jim Baird's, a fish Muskoka Brewery beer, and it's the Campfire Pilsner is delicious. And there's a reason I'm having that one is because today's show is, of course, with Jim Baird, who's an extraordinary outdoor adventurer, a total legend in the outdoor space. He's done some pretty amazing things out there in the wilderness, including the winning of the hit History Channel TV show Alone. Ever heard of it? So yeah,
idiots.
He's kind of the bee's knees, and we were super lucky and excited to get to chat to him live at Muskoka Brewery in Muskoka this past weekend. And so yeah, that's what the show's going to be today. Super excited about that. Before we get into that, community updates.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I think this comes out May 1st, so we're looking to forward to our May calendar. But just a quick shout out to everybody who came out to Sotos,
which is tomorrow, brother.
Oh yeah, true.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Wow. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody who came to Sotos, and obviously to Tet for hosting, and then Matt Martin for doing the Squirmy Wormy Derby, Drift Outfitters, Chums, Reddington. Like there's a Left Field Brewery. There's like so many people to thank. Civil Pours,
Coup d'etat.
All of our of course, all of our sponsors.
I think you said that,
like
double
Ontario Streams. So, Mitch Marner's brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody that donated prizes to the auction.
The Franklin Club.
Yeah.
The list is long. Adis for printing those really nice photos.
Yeah.
Yeti, Emma, and Graham over at Yeti for doing the custom mugs. Drift, I said Drift Outfitters, but not only did they donate a prize, but they also got all the Squirmy Wormy material. Black Squirmy Wormy material was interesting. An interesting material to use.
I'd never seen it before.
And Allie and everybody at Filson too, and
John Moxa from Greg Clark chapter who donated that fly.
Yep, I mean it's
Idis for those beautiful prints.
I said that.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to remember. I don't want to forget anybody.
It's hard because we're like trying to remember everything.
Well, it was a real awesome event, and and it was a good display of the community we're part of here, which is like super cool because, I know we've been doing this a long time, but
DJ Dopey, speaking of the community.
DJ Dopey, man. God, thank you. I need to text him to say thank you because I forgot to text him after because, man, he comes out and plays music for, hours and just because he's a nice guy and that's great. And he wants to donate his time there. Yeah, it was like the first event we had done in a while, where we got to kind of see all our friends come out and hang out. And it was very special to see everybody there. It was really good vibes, good spirits. Everybody had fun, I think. I hope.
Oh man, I thought it was
I had a good time.
I had a great time.
Yeah.
I thought the venue was amazing.
Yes.
And we raised $3,500.
Everybody, that's amazing. Back to Ontario Streams does great work.
Back to Ontario Streams, which is amazing. That's great.
Kicked off Trout Opener, another beautiful, glorious time of year.
Yeah, Ontario. So just wanted to say a quick thanks before we dive into things.
Yeah.
I would have... Yeah, let's start with... well, actually, we can look to our own events, actually, again, May 17th, which is a Saturday. If you are a brown girl and you enjoy the outdoor world, we're teaming up with BGOW again. We kind of do this every summer for Learn to Fly Fish. There's 8 slots. I believe 6 are taken, so there's only 2 slots left. So if you're listening to this and you always wanted to, be curious to listen to a fly fishing podcast without already fly fishing. But if you don't know how to fly fish and you are listening to this and you are a brown girl or you know a brown girl that would enjoy the outdoor world, we are doing a Learn to Fly Fish class with BGOW on the 17th. So on the Grand River. So that's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, and you can learn more details at Demisha's page, right? Instagram, Brown Girl Outdoor World.
100%.
Check that out.
So check that out, big time.
Yeah.
And then on the 29th of May, we are teaming up with Hook A and Drift, and we're actually going to be doing a event at the new Left Field Brewery, new-ish. It's been around for a couple of years. But we're Hook A. We're co-hosting. Sorry. Whoa. We are co-hosting the Scale of Change Tour, which is an initiative by Hook A and the Atlantic Salmon Federation to raise awareness and funds of the kind of dire situation that the Atlantic salmon are in on the East Coast. They're seeing diminishing returns, have been for years. Last year was the scariest, and so the time is now. So yes, there will be a bit of a movie screening, the Scale of Change movie, as well as some videos by us. But more so, it's so that you can learn about the issues surrounding the decline in Atlantic salmon, stocks, and seeing how you can help. And just by going to this thing, which is going to be fun, by the way, just by going to this thing, you're helping because your ticket goes to funding the ASF. We'll have, of course, as we always do, raffles and stuff. That'll all go to help the ASF. I think Hook A has limited edition Scale of Change merch, which will go to help the ASF. So it's all going to help the Atlantic salmon, wild Atlantic salmon, of course,
Heck yeah.
on the East Coast. So come out to that. It's going to be radical. We'll put a link to our show notes. You can also head to we'll populate our website with it, and you'll be able to buy tickets there because there's an event page. But if you go to this, if you want, you can go to Hook A's page and go to the Scale of Change, and you can see the tour dates there. Because maybe you're listening to this and you're like, oh well, I don't live in Toronto, but I'd love to see this. Well, it's going on tour. They just did Moncton, and I know they're going to be doing some dates across Canada. So if you don't live in Toronto, there'll be an opportunity to see the Scale of Change. But obviously, Atlantic salmon are a special species, and I think it's a fish that transcends fishing in terms of their iconography and like the returning to the harrowing journey that they take to return to the stream that they were born in.
Absolutely
to
smashing.
spawn is an image that's locked in a lot of people's brains that don't even fish. There was a whole episode of The Magic School Bus about it. Remember that?
Yeah, there was. Brother, do I ever?
So it's a special
species.
It
became like a meme. It was like a memeing for a while.
Yes, I know. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, exactly.
But come out to the event because it's going to be smashing, as they say.
Yes, and we will actually have a film that we co-produced with our buddy Mitch Mobile screening at that as well. So that'll be really, really.
And
cool.
What's that film about?
Well, it's about Matt Martin's life
as a guide.
Yeah, well, it's actually about his family and how they supported him into getting into guiding.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's called Fishing and Family.
What day is this event again?
This Thursday, May 29th. Thursday, May 29th.
Yeah, in Toronto at the Left Field Brewery in Liberty Village. Liberty Village, right?
Links will definitely be, yes, Liberty Village. Links will definitely be in our show notes.
There you go.
Then other stuff that's happening, you know, I would just head to driftoutfitters.com to see about their educational series. I'm just on the Ottawa Fly Fishers Society. I'm not seeing any May things posted, but ottawaflyfishers.ca is where you can always find their events,
There you go.
for
Okay.
example. You know, and as things come up, we always try to post about them. But that's a big thing. May 17th, learn to fly fish with BGOW, and May 29th, Scale of Change with Hook A, us, and Drift, of course. Drift. I hope I mentioned that.
Yeah, you did.
If anybody knows this, Rob actually sits on the board of directors of the ASF.
He does indeed.
So
and he is actually an Atlantic salmon. So come on out, help Rob, man. Without your help, we don't know what's going to happen to him.
He's not going to be able to spawn.
I joke. It is a serious matter.
But yeah, Rob works. I think Rob does a lot of work.
He's not going to be able to spawn.
But yeah, a lot of people. Rob does a lot of work that he doesn't really talk about openly that much. But he does sit
He's
on
a humble man.
board of directors, and that's really cool. So it's awesome being able to, you know, keep working on these conservation initiatives for these fishies that we love, like brook trout and Atlantic salmon, our native species.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Okay.
This beer's good, dude.
You're telling me. Jim Baird, after these words. Okay, ready? Hold your breath. We are in Baird country today, everybody. Let's put our hands together for that. Very, very excited. Got Jim Baird, who's a Canadian wilderness explorer. He's a YouTube filmmaker, podcaster, and survival expert. Many things. He's paddled some of the wildest, most remote rivers on the planet. He won season 4 of the History Channel's Alone and starred... Yeah, I mean, that's quite the feat right there. He starred in Home in the Wild on National Geographic and Disney Plus, along with his wonderful family. Whether it's surviving off the land, navigating epic canoe expeditions, or teaching his kids the rhythms of the wild, Jim's life is deep, ongoing conversation with nature itself. Today, we're super excited to dive into some of his most unforgettable stories, hear how fishing weaves into his wilderness experience, and explore what life on the edge can teach us about living fully. The first fish he ever caught was probably a rock bass, but he can't remember because he's been fishing forever. But his first time on SoFly is today. Jim, welcome to the show.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I think it probably almost guaranteed was a rock bass.
Yes. Tough to remember, right?
It is. Yeah, I was too young probably to remember. But, you know, worm and a bobber off the dock, probably going to be a rock bass, right?
I love it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's a good first fish. It's a classic Ontario experience. First, before we get into the questions and talking about, you know, your life in the outdoors, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking Jim Baird Adventures Windbound Campfire Pilsner, and this is just basically a delicious, refreshing Pilsner with a little bit of smoky flavor to it, which is just kind of pulls everything together when it comes to like campfires and the outdoors and cooking over a fire. But the thing that's cool about it is it's actually the barley that it's made with is actually smoked.
Oh,
so it's not an artificial smoke flavor or anything. That's the real deal.
It's a delicious beer. It's very, very tasty, and I'm excited that it's coming out.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the second you're doing this beer, right?
Yeah, so we made some beer. Muskoka Brewery did. They're kind enough to work with me on this, and it sold out. So they're okay. We'll make a little bit, and we did, and good amount, and that sold out, which was awesome. So we said, okay, well, let's do it again, and it found its way into their survival mixer pack, which goes into all the LCBO stores.
Right on.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, so you can pick up.
Yeah, please
the
cheer,
mixer
please.
Pack.
We don't usually have applause on our show, so this is awesome.
Okay, let's jump into it. So, you know, Jim, you've made a life going into some of the remote places on Earth. What first kind of sparked that drive to head out into the wild? How did your journey into the outdoors begin?
Well, they say that 1 in 10 people has the explorer's gene. And there's all kinds of articles on this. But ever since I was a little kid, all I wanted to do is be beyond where there was other people. And I always wanted to be further north than everything was. And I soon learned that our family cottage in Bancroft wasn't quite that. But, you know, I kind of felt that it was. And so I think maybe there's something there that people that like camping, they like the outdoors, it might actually be genetic, or people that are just more adverse to risk than others. Maybe, you know, because I look like a Viking. Maybe that's like where it comes from, man. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I could definitely just say, just from growing up with my family and just always trying to get into that next backcountry lake to see what it looks like, to see what the fishing's like, and just getting out and exploring has always been a thing for me and my family.
That's awesome. Did you grow up? You mentioned Bancroft. Did you grow up? What part of the province did you grow up in?
So originally from Toronto, and I started. My dad and my my grandfather built in the '60s a water access, you know, cottage cabin, and you know, that's where I started spending a lot of time. And that's where we started, you know, really getting into this kind of stuff. And it kind of got to the point where that just became my life, right? I started working in mineral exploration up in Northern Ontario. My family owned a map business, which obviously was, you know, related to travel and just looking at maps. That's always been an interest of mine. And so I think that's definitely kind of what spurred that, and that eventually, you know, became my life.
It really sparks the wanderlust looking at maps.
Right.
You're like,
yeah.
Bet there's a fish in there.
Yeah.
Who are some of your like early mentors that shaped that, you know, the early days of you getting into nature?
Well, you know, my Uncle Steve, who's right here, round of applause.
Uncle Steve.
Hey, Uncle Steve.
Yeah, so he took us out fishing, you know, by probably about the age of 6, we sort of realized that we're going to have to sort of raise the bar from what he'd taught us. Just kidding. and same goes with my dad when it comes to fishing. But they just, you know, Steve said, "Oh, you want to catch fish? You know, you got to get up early. You know, we got to be out there early, guys." And my dad he was the one that was more into the canoeing side of things, and he would I'd look at him like, "Why don't you care that you're soaked and you just have soakers all day and that doesn't annoy you, you know?" Like, yeah. And I just sort of, I guess, led by example. And then, to be honest with you, I think a lot of my sort of heroes are dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the people that I get inspiration from is like those old stories when you read about, you know, people that lived on the land in Labrador that traveled up and down rivers to their trap lines in the interior, and, you know, rode dog teams to here and there, and all those, you know, early explorers, and the stories of indigenous people, and all these things, I think, is where that I draw that's who I want to be like. You know what I mean?
That's
right.
That's a really cool point. Yeah. I had this thought the other week. You know, so much of, I was thinking, like, somebody asked me this similar question, like an American friend of mine who doesn't know much about Ontario, you know, and he's like, "What were you inspired by?" And I was like, honestly, the Group of Seven and that kind of imagery. I was like, I want to see that one day. I was like, well, I want to see that feeling or something. And that point of like, I'm inspired by dead people. It was like, I'm kind of inspired by Tom Thompson. And I'm wondering if that's...
Tom Thompson was also a good fisherman.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm more inspired by those absolute slabs he was smashing in Algonquin. Good Lord.
I know, the brook trout in Algonquin used to be crazy.
What a time to be around.
Yeah. But, you know, I remember being on the Petawawa River and standing in a place where at Natch Rapids and being like, where do I recognize this from? Be like, oh my God, I'm staring at a Tom Thompson painting in Petawawa Gorges. That's cool. Just to know you're standing at that exact same spot randomly where this dude sat there and painted a super famous painting, right? So I get it.
It's the aura of Ontario too. It's such a beautiful province, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
People just don't necessarily think about it all the time, but it's amazing. There's so many cool places here.
Well, I remember the old license plate, yours to discover.
Yes.
I love even that. The dogs love it.
Even the dogs love it. The dog hates open for business.
Yes.
yours to discover is where it's
Aren't they pouring free samples here?
I think they are, yeah.
Okay, just okay.
Do you want one?
No.
You look a little
I'm gonna
light.
just drink those ones over there.
Got 3 lined up for you.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's in. I wonder. I don't, want to make any generalizations, but I hope that because we were taught. We're from Ottawa. I don't know if this is the case everywhere, but we were taught. We were taught the Group of 7 and those paintings, and we had an outdoor ed program in high school, and I went to public school, so that was pretty special. I hope kids are still seeing those paintings and being inspired. Not just kids, but Canadians
Everybody,
in general. Yeah.
I think they are. I love just those windswept white pines.
The West
I
Wind.
have one in my living room. I don't know. I think it's A.Y. Jackson or something like that. But just
Wow.
it's an original. Just kidding.
Oh.
Just with windswept
Yeah.
pines, and they're just gnarly, growing right out of quartzite.
Yeah.
I think it was taken in Killarney, right?
Yeah.
I didn't get it when I was a kid. I'm like, why don't they just draw it how it looks?
Yeah.
Exactly, right? But now I'm like, I get it.
They captured the feeling.
Yeah.
It's
totally.
wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so before Alone, which amazing Alone. I mean, actually, let's start there. What made you decide to go? We're gonna do Alone. We're gonna get into Alone right now.
Nothing. No. So I had
He had to pay for the A.Y. Jackson.
That's right.
No, I had a follower actually reach out to me. Jim, you should be on this show. Go check it out. Apply to be on the show. So I did, and I pulled up a really cool little sizzle reel that we had professionally cut of a bunch of footage my brother and I had taken.
Okay.
Over the years, essentially, because we'd sort of gotten into filming some of my own stuff. I'd filmed some stuff for Field and Stream when magazines started to try to get into digital. I managed to get some of my trips paid for, which was definitely, I think I was living below the poverty line at that point, but I got to do some cool stuff, and so we gave that professionally edited thing, and they're like, this is amazing. But I didn't just flip them an email and, hey, it's Miller time, right? Or Windbound time, right?
Nice.
I actually followed up, and I called them, right? And they're like, well, you can't just call and ask for the casting director. You need to know their name. You need to ask their name. So I'm like, okay, I'll call you back. So I jumped on LinkedIn or something, found the cat, and I'm like, I'd like to speak to so-and-so. They're like, they don't work here anymore. I'm like, okay, let's try again. Anyways, finally got the name. They forwarded me to them. I called back 5 times. Finally, they picked up the phone, and they're like, well, we're really busy. We don't have a lot to do. I'm like, are you by your computer? Yes, you are. Well, we'll look for your email. Okay, well, I'm going to send it to you again. Boop. I sent it to them again, popped right into their computer. They clicked the link, watched the sizzle reel, and they're like, this is amazing. You and your brother are like crazy and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So that might have just been buried if I didn't just hound this
Right.
poor lady, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm just like, okay, great. Alone, this is not going to be easy. Right? This is not something that I took lightly. I'm like, this is going to be freaking hard. Anybody that's ever been like, oh, let's go into this little back lake here, and we won't bring any food this time. Probably 90% of people have tried that in here before, right? And then you get there, and that boat that you thought was stashed there, it's not there anymore because some guys sunk it when they're having a rager or something.
Yeah.
And maybe you could pull it out. It's on the bottom of the lake and duct tape it. Maybe you can't. You're fishing from shore. The weather's terrible. And all of a sudden, you're like, I eat a lot more than I thought I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really all-encompassing when it comes to Alone. That was the big lesson.
Yeah.
So anyways, then I went and walked across the Angava Peninsula, right?
Yeah.
So I got back from that. So that was a 36-day solo trip, probably the craziest thing I ever did. Me and my dog solo walked across.
Was that the one with
Arctic
Buck?
Quebec. Yes.
Yeah.
I did 2 big treks with that dog. And I got back, and my brother's like, all right, welcome back, man. Let's go on Alone. I'm just like, I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Please no.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe in a bit, right? So I just sort of wasn't so into just being alone for another enormous length of time. And then a little bit of time went through, and my brother's like, Jim, come on, man. I'm always doing this stuff you want to do, and you're always swindling me into stuff. And so my brother really wanted to do this. And he's like, I think we have a good chance at this. And I said, all right, let's go. A little bit of time went by. And so it was actually Ted that sort of that really got me to give the thumbs up. And that might sound surprising because so many people want to go on it so bad, but like I think that was my initial hesitation had a lot to do with the fact that I actually had some idea of how actually hard it was going to be,
Right.
and still really didn't know,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
probably a little bit better than the rest of the people, maybe.
Giving it the respect, you know.
Maybe not,
Yeah.
not to take anything away from the rest of the
for sure.
participants, but yeah.
I mean, it took you 8 days to find Ted.
It did, yeah. The show actually said 10, but
Oh.
they're wrong. It was
Yeah.
only 8, yeah.
Yeah, and along the way you're eating slugs and mushrooms out of your hat.
Yeah, I called it the breakfast of champignons.
I mean, that's a wild. That relief when you found your brother must have been extraordinary.
It was, yeah. And I actually had food for my brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he's like, I'm hungry. I got nothing. I'm like,
well, I got these
have
slugs.
mushrooms, and yeah, I'd eaten all the slugs. I already pounded those. Just hammered some slugs.
How did
out
you
there.
decide which items to bring with you? That's the one thing I'm super curious about. I mean, that's like it's 10, right? You get to bring in.
Yeah.
How did you pick? Like that's a crazy thing to.
I think that a lot of focus gets put on those 10 items, but I don't really think it matters that much.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah, so we kind of thought pretty long and hard about it. I think that like you should bring fishing hooks, depending on where you are.
Right.
I think there's a lot of like, even if you're on a river, like, a lot of people here have probably walked into a river thinking I'm going to find a place to fish on this river, and walk miles in either direction, and it's just shallow and rushing and like not a fish to be found kind of thing, right? But when you know that you're going to be on a lake or when there's going to be water, pretty good idea to bring that, right? Pretty good idea to bring hooks and a line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good idea to bring some sort of pot or container to cook things in. I mean, right? Especially because that gives you the option to boil your food.
Yeah.
And that way, if you're roasting stuff, you're kind of wasting a lot of the, drippings and stuff. But if you boil stuff, you
All
can
contained.
kind of you're getting everything, right? So that was sort of, and then we chose a tarp to make a boat, which was good. The tarp we actually used for water collection because it rains there. We were out there, guys, in the freaking rainiest November in history, in recorded history, for one of the rainiest places like in the country. I think Prince Rupert is the rainiest place in Canada, so this isn't much far off, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of rain.
Yeah.
A lot of rain, and the coldest winter in 30 years.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it was.
It was uphill both ways.
Yeah.
Well, we thought, Vancouver Island, it's nice and it doesn't really
Yeah.
snow there, but that cold, man, it just gets into your soul.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. And then you have to, like you said, eat. Didn't realize how much you ate, and you had to get through that.
Yeah,
Amazing.
no, I didn't. Yeah, it's a big wake up call. If you really want to learn about the Neolithic Revolution.
Okay.
So the Neolithic Revolution, one of the only big words I know, is
Impressive.
That's when people went from hunter gatherers to farming.
Okay.
And when they started farming, and what essentially happened is after people learned how to farm, then a smaller amount of people could then provide food for a larger amount of people. And that's when people didn't have to consume their time with essentially living hand to mouth, and could
Right.
start philosophizing and building big buildings and doing all these things that they now have their time with. Think about the pyramids, right? Like that definitely happened like after people had gotten past
Organized.
the living like you're on a lone stage of humanity.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And so this was an incredible way to really learn how that all
Get
works
back
in
to-
depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just thinking about, there's so many things, and they say that fasting, right? Fasting is a great way to see things clearly. It's true. Like I got a lot of those really kind of clear moments that sort of almost are better than what could be explained by language about these kind of things, and 100 other insights and everything else, and a real idea as to what survival really is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it provided a lot of clarity.
Yeah. So it was pretty amazing, but it was hard, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it was like I wasn't in as much danger as when I'm in the middle of the Angava Peninsula. I remember being there, and this freaking blizzard blows up, guys, and I'm like, if I don't get my tent up,
Yeah.
I'm gonna die. Like I might be able, but I sweat worked out. I might have been able to make like a little square out of snow blocks and crawled in there and sealed it off and lived, probably. But it would have been like, maybe I'm gonna die kind of thing. And all of a sudden I got this snow block wall built, and the wind shifted, and I had to build it again and continue building because I can't get my tent up.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was building this freaking snowblock wall in the middle of this just like raging blizzard whiteout wind alone in the middle of Arctic Quebec. And I'm just like, there's no way that like anybody on these shows, Survivor Man and all these, no disrespect to these guys or Bear Grylls or whatever, no way they're in remotely this much danger. And the same thing was true for Alone, right? But at least in Angava, there's like an athletic pursuit. I can be like, okay, I can make up a plan here. I can say I have X amount of food, and I can take that food and I can ration it out compared to how many kilometers I have, and I know if I have X amount of food for X amount of kilometers, despite the fact that I've been pinned down by blizzards for 9 days, that I will make it, right?
Right.
But Alone is like a shipwreck scenario.
This is what I've always wondered about Alone.
You never know.
Because
You never know when you're going to get out, right?
there's so much time spent in the same place.
Yeah.
You're not, like you're saying, you're like, okay, today I have to do 20 kilometers, next day I have to do 30 kilometers, I have to be here, I have to ration this food. You're kind of just there. I always wondered if, in
That
a way,
takes a
that
toll.
makes the mental toll a little bit harder because you don't necessarily, it's not that you don't have goals, but you're kind of in the same
Stuck.
place every day.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And you're also, the other thing you don't realize is that you become boxed in by the walls of your own weakness, right? So you watch the show, and I was the same way. I'm like, why did it take this guy 3 weeks to build a boat? We're just gonna rip in there and build a boat, and my brother was building the boat, and it took us 3 weeks, because you don't realize after you actually get food, find it, cook it, cut wood, light a fire, you only have a couple hours at the end of each day where you can work on projects that would then make your situation better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where when you're doing something where you actually have some calories with you, you can actually move around and do this. And on Alone, you're stuck in one area, but it's like your own weakness after you get past 3-4 weeks is kind of preventing you from going anywhere else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you burn so many calories just getting through the day that by
Right.
the end of the day you're like, I don't want to do any of this.
I don't
Or
wanna-
maybe I
yeah.
can't. I
wanna
don't
go
want
home.
to.
I want a pizza.
Yeah. Call. Okay, so early stages of life, like you're in Bancroft, you started doing some tripping. Uncle Steve, you're doing some mapping, you're working for Field and Stream. Now you've hit Alone, post Alone. Now, would that be fair to say you're in your YouTube kind of era?
Yeah,
Or was
so-
that kind of happening simultaneously?
Well, so I didn't. I started a YouTube channel, but I was doing digital content for Field and Stream, Canoe and Kayak,
Awesome.
freelancing a little bit for Outdoor Canada, and I actually
cool.
went and writing for Explore, and I actually went full time into just freelancing, like mostly digital content for these platforms.
Oh, cool.
And I remember one year I made $19,000, and I had to pay taxes on that. I'm like, I thought taxes were supposed to like help the poor. Like, are you just going to give this back to me? Like, but at the same time, I got to do a bunch of cool stuff. I think that year, me and my wife Tori paddled the East Natashquan, and we got Tourism Quebec to sponsor us and to fly us in and do this crazy trip. So I still got to do these amazing large
awesome.
and like so worth it, right?
Yeah.
So I had a YouTube channel. I threw up maybe like 2 videos a year, if that. And so it wasn't until 2 years after I got Alone, so that 2019, when I actually started getting serious about YouTube, and actually, a while after that, where I actually got monetized, where I could actually, make money off the ad revenue,
Yeah.
We made $100 this year.
Whoa.
On YouTube.
Beers on us.
Beers on us for 10 of you.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the YouTube thing's interesting.
Can you
and,
pass me one of those?
I was going to say, I'll pour it for you if you want me to.
I'll just drink it out of the can.
cracking
Right
a
on.
nice zesty spellbound, are we?
Yeah,
I love it.
Windbound.
Windbound.
Sorry, had a couple too many windbounds already. The YouTube, making content's interesting, right? Because like I think there's a lot of the time on social, people see the highlight reels. They see those spectacular moments, and they see it in a few seconds, and they just kind of keep going on with their day. But it's hours, days, weeks, months of so much more than that hardship. Has there ever been a moment on a shoot, on a content shoot or anything where you decided, or were close to deciding, like, man, maybe I should just pack this in?
On an adventure?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There was one time when I was on the Canelo Trail in the Northwest Territories. So this is the most remote trail in the world. It was a World War II pipeline trail that was abandoned, and the Americans built it when they're trying to get sweet crude from Norman Wells through mountain passes in the Mackenzie Mountains all the way to Whitehorse, which was the only reason Whitehorse, Yukon is there is because it was a refinery for this Norman oil to come through to then be refined as they were building the Alaska Highway to then take this to Alaska to protect Alaska after Pearl Harbor. They were worried about a Japanese attack on the Alaskan coast. Right. And so at one time you could have driven this whole road. Now there's no bridges. Everything's washed out. There's just like these remote 1940s Ford pickup trucks rusting out in the wilderness, and like it's wild. And so Field and Stream wanted to do this ATV trip because ATV companies or power sports companies have money to sponsor these things. So they said, Jim, do you want to do it? And I'm like, all right, let's give her, right? So I was
makes
fully
ads
in.
for BRP.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I work with Skidoo a little bit too. Yeah. So anyways, of course, it was the worst year ever. It was because the water level was so high. All the rivers were raging. Most people probably wouldn't even have done it. But, we had to ride across all these rivers, and we couldn't get across this one big river called the Twitya. We got through one braid of the river, and we got both our quads out onto this island in the middle of the river. And we were trying to do something called a pendulum ferry. We swam across the river, and we were trying to swing the ATVs on a raft. We had like a donut. We made a floor out of trees we chopped down and ratchet strapped this whole thing together. And we're trying to pendulum this thing across the river. Yeah. But the issue was that the rope we should have used a cable. We used a strong enough rope, but even with a 3-to-1 pulley system, we couldn't get the bend out of that rope. And this might be hard to visualize, but a thinner cable might have sliced through the water quicker. And what happened when we did the pendulum ferry, we were missing our mark, and the whole ATV and the whole raft rig was landing close to shore, too far away, like right next to a huge cut bank. Mm-hmm. And after trying this many times, I was like, you know what, and the magazine sent me with this guy that had never done anything like this before because he was like good at filming stuff. Mm-hmm. And after we tried that a few times, and I realized, if we'd made it to Norman Wells, we would have been probably bleeding naked. One of us would have killed the other. Maybe we should pull the ripcord on this, but also because I was leaving on doing a 33-day canoe expedition across northern Quebec and Labrador, which people might have seen here. I think I forget what I called it. It's just called the Labrador. It was like the most epic freaking canoe trip, man. I caught a 15.5-pound Atlantic salmon on the fly, multiple 5-pound specks.
Oh my God.
Like landlocked Arctic char, sea run specks, a couple 9-pound pike, some nice Lakers in there, like just the best fishing trip. Wananish, landlocked Atlantic salmon. You guys would be, oh man, you should watch that video just so you could just feel the depth of the jealousy.
No, I'm jealous.
Place.
I've always wanted to go to Labrador.
Oh yeah.
The bugs are bad, but
that's okay.
It's all good.
Hey, what do speckled trout eat?
Bugs.
That's right.
Blackfly larvae, right?
Yeah, and dragonfly larvae and all that good stuff. Well, maybe we get into fishing.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Was fishing always, obviously we fly fish, you do a little bit of fly fishing, we do conventional fishing, we fished all our lives. Was fishing always a part of your outdoor experience?
Well, to be honest with you, fishing is how I got into all this stuff.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So that's why I said yes to this podcast.
Oh, okay.
All making sense.
Yeah. No, but yeah, absolutely. Like, so it was all about learning to portage and paddle. Had a lot to do with, hey, maybe we can, looking at the map and be like, what about that lake? There's no quad trail into there. There's maybe a portage trail. I bet you if we got in there, we'd load in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a boat stashed in there. Maybe we have to portage a canoe in there. And that's all, that's basically what started it all,
Yeah.
right? Is paddling and portaging to get to where there is good fishing. And of course, there's more to it than that too, right? Because there's places that you can go and catch a lot of fish, but they're polluted, and there's like a giant cement factory right over there. There's also something about being in this place where the fishing is loaded and there's just like no people, and it's just like untouched spot, right? So that's also part of the adventure of the whole thing too. But really, it was like led by getting out there and catching fish, mostly bass when we were younger.
Right.
Yeah.
Same.
Going to these places where you get a sense that the fish have of course, fish don't know of people, but when you go to a place where the fish are so wild, it's like you're the first person they've ever seen. There's something really magical about that moment, catching those types of fish.
Yeah, it's almost. I've been at places where the fishing was so good, it's almost too easy.
Yeah.
And we're like, just don't fish.
Yeah, just enjoy this. We've got good numbers.
It's
now.
like single barbless, maybe
Yeah.
catch one.
Yeah.
And like it's too pristine and perfect. It's like sacred, like that's what me and my brother found a couple spots like that on the Hood River.
Yeah.
One of the only times where I was like, honestly, like it's too easy.
Yeah.
It's too perfect. Like just enjoy it and paddle on, right? Like I know what you mean.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what is one of your favorite places you've ever gotten to fish? And what are the exact coordinates? And, we'll edit this part out.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. You probably noticed I don't throw out too many exact locations in my videos. Eh?
No, pretty smart. Yeah.
Well, I figure people, if they want to do the work, they'll figure it out themselves.
For
and
sure.
It's also, I don't want to put pressure on those fisheries, but also it's because I don't want just people that like getting out there and getting hurt that maybe don't have the experience, right?
Yeah. But without naming names, is there like a place you're like, man, we were on this trip and...
Yeah. So on the Adlatok River, below this 100-foot waterfalls, guys,
Wow.
lies the most insane speckled trout fishing that you will ever. The odd laker in there, but we're talking about, and there's otters in there.
Huh.
Otters eat a lot
And they
of
don't,
fish.
right?
They're
Doesn't-
like, if anybody's ever had a dock, like even in Muskoka, and they're catching like rock bass off their dock all day, a couple years of otters, they're not even going to catch that anymore.
Yeah.
There's literally otters in there eating fish on the shore.
And there's still tons of fish.
And we're catching multiple 5-pound, every cast, every other cast. It doesn't even matter if you throw it into the eddy. Doesn't even matter when you throw it into the middle of the current. It's just crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then these places are all just so far flung and insane, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
They're maybe not so relatable when you look at the float plane charter to reach these places. Although Labrador, we didn't take any float planes, but it was like, a 33-day trip, not counting all the logistics and driving, right? So the other place would be the headwater of the Kujua River. So this is a spot that's further north than all of Alaska, on Victoria Island in the Canadian Arctic archipelago. And we fly out here, like we're looking at ancient seashores where you can see like undulating lines from where waves used to break on shore that are now hundreds of miles because that land has rebounded. We're looking at muskox, we're looking at caribou, we're looking at like Inuit historical sites from the air. And we're just like literally like about to burst into tears because this is so incredible.
Yeah.
And we land on this lake and we go to the float plane pilot, like, you think there's any fish in here? He's like, I don't know, looks deep enough, see you later, peels out of there. And at this point, it's like never gets dark there. So it's like freaking 2 a.m, right? So me and my brother are like, well, might as well go take a couple casty poos, right? Let's go take a few, Anyways, we go out there. We're insane. And just cutting off all our hooks, barbs pinched down, freaking just landing Arctic char after Arctic char. So there was a hatch and you could see where these like little bugs, you'd probably know what they are being a fly guy, just kind of milling around in patches on the top of the water. And we just pitch at that. And I remember catching one Arctic char that fought me in like this, came up, jumped over the canoe between my brother Tanner, like, like this. We could have caught enough fish that day to just have food for the entire trip. And we ended up staying up till like 5 a.m, not sleeping all night, just absolutely giddy.
Yeah.
You know, so that would probably be the two best spots, you know.
There is something about, I don't know, when you get into some of those days, because fishing, of course, anybody who fishes, probably a lot of people in this room, there's a lot of failure in fishing. So when you get that moment, it really does get the dopamine just rocking, you know? Yeah.
Anything, I guess anything that's really good, there's going to be, anything that's rewarding, it's not going to be easy, you know? And like, you know, sometimes I'm out there and I'm like, I don't think I have any idea what I'm doing. You know, when anybody can catch fish when they're in the Arctic, you know, it's just, you know, it's when you're in a place that sees more pressure and you have to really try different presentations. And even some of these remote places, you're not just automatically loading in for sure. You have to learn.
Sometimes it's
like, you know, even if you're just going to go and take a river up to James Bay, and you're like, you know, you never done it before, and like, we don't need to bring food, you know, you're probably going to starve, right? Because you're going to hit it too early in the season. You don't know where the fish are in these rivers.
They're off for whatever reason, pressure system, something like that. There's like a saying in fly fishing or whatever that, you know, fly fishing takes you to some amazing places, you know. For a lot of people, that's why they do it. It's not even about catching the fish. Yeah. Is that kind of why you paddle and adventure? Is it to see these places, or is it to like, I guess for us, it would be our like challenge would be to fool these species, land these species, see these species.
I just go to these places to fool the fish.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
No, but like, it's just like when you're doing these adventures, is it to do the adventure, or is it to see the place? Or is it both?
So, you know, it's interesting you should ask that, because so many people are always like, why? Why do you do these things? And I remember, you know, pitching TV shows. Well, why are you doing that? I'm like, I don't know, like to throw the ring into the fires of Mordor. Like, I don't have a good reason, right? And but you know, at the end of the day, it's to find out why. Right. So it's when you're doing these journeys, these point A to point B journeys, you're doing them because it's not about the destination. It's about the trip in and of itself. And you can probably see this with float fishing and, you know, you're going there to catch fish. That's a big part of it, obviously, but it's not everything. It's a combination of all of these things. And oftentimes at the end of the trip is when you kind of realize why you did it, not before.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. Do you think, like, when you're on an expedition and the fishing really, it's not, you know, there's no question of catch and release, like, does that change your relationship to fishing at all when it's like, I've got to eat tonight?
Uh-oh, here we go. Catch and release. By
the way,
you guys do fillet and release?
A lot of people assume that because we fly fish, we only catch and release, which of course is not true. We've eaten
delicious northern
piles of fish.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not. There's no judging here.
I know,
absolutely.
I'm just kidding. So I do think that, and there's things too that I've learned about catch and release, and especially when you're going to one of these like fly-in lodges where you're just catching and releasing big fish all day. You really, and it's so much pressure in one area, you really got to pay attention to those things, right? But like keeping your hands wet. You know, I remember I got like an angry comment like, "Just don't touch the fish if you're going to release them when your hands are wet." I'm like, I didn't know that, you know, like so there's these things that are for sure smart to do. But in general, when I'm traveling, I'm not putting too much pressure in one area, and I like to catch and release. But I think there's a safe, like when I'm in these areas where it's just insane fishing, and you know, especially if people are out there using like those giant barbed travel hooks, like. And their fish's eyes are getting stabbed out, and you're just releasing all these fish that are going to die.
Not great.
Not great. But I think it's get in there, get something that's good to eat. You know, have respect for the fish, right? And you know, catch and release. You know, with a certain amount of ethics, and do it a bit. But just if don't go crazy. Like that's what I think.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I liked your sentiment of like, when you're on the Hood River, you're like, we should just stop fishing. Like, this is maybe a bit too easy. We know we don't need any more fish to eat.
Could you ever imagine that happening to you?
No, I mean, not with lake trout anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Best moment of my life.
Maybe with rock bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Hood River trip looked like
Unbelievable.
What about you guys? Are you sort of on the same lines with that?
Catch and release?
Yeah, I think there's a happy medium when you come into these places and you've already got enough to eat. You know that there's not really anything larger than a certain number in here. It's at a certain point. If it's so good, and what a privilege to be able to visit some of these places.
Yeah.
Like one of those places in Manitoba. That's the other place I forgot to mention. It was with pickerel. Or walleye for your American, listeners.
Right.
There was nothing really big there, but it was so crazy, Aldo. Like it was literally every cast, not every other cast, not like every three, like not like, 3 casts every cast, then one. No, it was like literally every cast. I was trying to take get a fish up for a picture and put it down. And a fish just bites my line as it's hanging over the edge of the canoe, dead sticking in the river. Right?
Not even fish, yeah.
Right. I didn't mention it as one of my best ever places because there's nothing of much size there.
Right.
But what's the point?
I think in general these debates more so now than ever are kind of raging on in terms of like, before, let's say 5 years ago, people were like, well, you got to catch and release. You got to respect these fish. Or you got to fish barbless. Let's start with the barbless thing.
Right.
I've seen a lot of guys fight fish for way too long on barbless hooks because they're afraid to lose it.
I think common sense.
I think common sense is great because it's like, okay, are we actually protecting this resource? Like if I fight a fish 3 times as long as I should because I'm using a barbless hook,
right.
Sure, I get the hook out quick, but the fish is dead anyway.
Right, and then if you catch and release, say 10 fish, is one probably going to die?
Probably.
But if you just catch one fish and then stop fishing and eat it, is it the same difference? Maybe that fish that dies is now feeding some cute little crayfish, right? Or maybe you're eating that fish and you're pooing on some blueberries, and those blueberries are going to be way bigger. You're part of the equation when you're living out in the bush too, right?
Yep.
And everybody likes blueberries.
Especially well-fertilized blueberries. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, right?
But yeah, I think these are important. I think before, like I said, I'll say 5, maybe 10 years ago, these were such like, they were such staunch statements. Like if you're like, I don't really catch and release all the time. People were like, what are you talking about? Whereas I think now people are reflecting on that a bit more.
You know what's crazy about live podcasts? I have to go to the washroom so bad right now.
We'll keep talking.
You guys keep chatting.
Okay.
I think like it's all those.
Can you have one for
those,
me too, please?
It's all those windbounds,
Yeah.
I think those like. I think especially in fly fishing, people like to forget that we're part of the ecosystem sometimes in a way where they're just like, no, you got to catch release or you got to fish barbless, but and then they stop thinking after that. It's like, am I doing what I want to be doing or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. Like, I think those people really are exhibiting, respect for the fish, respect for nature. And a lot of that also takes place in areas that have also seen a lot of impact. Yeah, a lot of impact. They're not even, there might be naturalized species, like some of these places in the States, particularly where the fish that are in there are not even the original strain oftentimes, or if they are those wild trout, they're like the last remaining few of those wild trout. You know what I mean? So I think in those places that those fishermen, they probably have a fairly good idea about what's best for those for those fisheries.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Brook trout. Today is trout opener.
Yeah.
And we're here doing this.
Yeah.
What's your no, I mean, thanks Muskoka Brewery.
It's too damn cold.
brook trout or char in general seem to be, a special species for you.
Yeah, so
You have a little brook trout tradition every year.
I do. It's a big deal. I know some people that live in the area. It's a great time to go into Algonquin Park because you see just local boys in there, from the area as opposed to just
being cold.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and and it's all these guys that it's an addiction, eh? It's people that love speckled trout fishing that want to chase after them. It's a big thing,
Yeah.
And it's a tradition. So a lot of guys go ice out. They'll go into Algonquin, and they'll do some routes, and they'll look at the maps, and they'll say, "Hey, the big one's going to be in here. I heard of, this guy Mike Borger. I think this is the lake he caught an 8-pounder in." Or I don't know if you know that story.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
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 I do a whole podcast on that. It'd be like a true crime documentary. Okay.
And then, how they found. What was it? It was like guys he posted a photo and then people were like dissecting the photo and going back through the photo to find where he found the fish and.
Yeah, that's how it started. So
Right.
he caught an 8-pound speck on a Williams Ridgeback, okay, and which is a good decent spoon, and he caught it in Algonquin, but he posted on Facebook, but nobody wanted to. He wouldn't tell anybody where he caught it, obviously, and there's all these people hounding him. Where'd you catch this? Where you catch this? Fish of a lifetime, easily, right?
They used the Freedom of Information Act.
Boom.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
go on. Not to cut you off.
So the people, the trolls, use the Freedom of Information Act to force Algonquin Park to publicly give them his route so they could see exactly where he went and follow his route.
Insane.
But where he caught the fish, it turned out, was in a little back lake where there was no campsite. So even then, it would take some guessing, and he is like taking this to the grave.
It's awesome,
right? But that's how serious. Like I just did a trip, like a skidoo trip with a buddy of mine. He's from Moosonee, and he said speckled trout is so important to me. I would rather, and he mentioned some little creek that is a special little spot of him, and he said I would rather my dog die than the fishery in that creek be ruined.
Yeah.
And he was really serious about that.
What is it about brook trout? Because if you talk to most Ontarians, they have that same kind of attitude. It's this fish that seems to, more so than a lake trout, more so than a northern pike.
Well, they were the most beautiful fish ever.
Yeah.
On
They're
Earth,
the tastiest fish ever.
Also true.
And it's also like where it takes you. And oftentimes still, a lot of guys are, especially further northern Ontario, they're going after them in the fall. But it also has to do with the fact that you're getting in there after a long winter and you smell that crisp spring air in your nose, man, and you're around the fire and you're out in the bush and you're fishing. It's kind of cold out and you feel good, right? And the first one you eat is always the best fish you're going to eat all year when you get on one of those trips.
We were small. Can I tell a story?
Please.
We were being hosted by these guys on the Esnagami River, and it's known for some good brook trout. First cast. Sorry, Mitch catches like a beauty, like
Nice.
5-6 pounder.
Wow.
Tongue hooks it, it bleeds out in like 2 seconds. This thing is beyond dead.
Oh, no.
Mitch is beside himself.
I was crushed. I think they're the most beautiful fish in the world. And I didn't want to harvest
What
it.
a jerk.
But then,
It's like,
then-
my God, no.
but then to your point, we did eat it, and it was the first fish we ate that year.
It was
so
unbelievably good. It was crazy. It was the first brook trout I ever had.
So good.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
these are delicious.
It was awesome. It is funny though that fish more than others seems to really like spark. It doesn't matter if you fly fish. It doesn't matter if you ice fish. It doesn't matter if you like you said, like trail
Something about 'em.
troll spoons. It's that fish that seems to really inspire people to have fun or to get outside.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't compare it because I don't know what that culture is like, say, in BC or in other areas, right? But there's definitely something that about those fish, and I think it's because they're they get pressured easily. They get so many lakes. People have gone and whipped bass into them that were original speck lakes that have destroyed the fishery. They can't spawn if the water is too acidy. So a lot of those lakes were ruined by acid rain. So to get to them, especially in the more southern parts of Ontario, is a mission in and of itself. So that makes them majestic.
Yeah.
The places that they take you to.
Yeah, exactly.
sure.
And they're not like bass, right? They get impacted more heavily if there's a speckled trout lake that's not stocked, that has a road into it. Like there's no specks in there anymore, right? No. Like it's a stock lake, and then the ones that are stocked get hit so hard that they can kind of get a little beat up or messy from guys getting in there in skidoos, and
I mean, talk about like a painting. I mean, brook trout really do look like the Ontario wilderness feels, the way it feels, like they're just such an amazing.
And they're an indicator species.
Yeah,
you got clean cold water if you've got brookies.
Yeah,
I guess that's something that you learn from fly casting. What would you say an indicator insect is?
Mayfly.
Green drake.
Yeah, maybe. The green drake mayfly.
What about what are the hellgrammites, or the ones that turn into fish flies?
Yes, yeah. If you look at a mayfly or a hellgrammite, it's a very in the evolutionary chain. Not to get into bugs too much, because it might get boring, and I might go insane here. But the folded winged insects that just have two wings, or sometimes it's two massive wings and two really small wings. They're a very primitive flying machine. And those are very delicate species. They need cold water, clean water, oxygenated water to survive. So if you start seeing mayflies go
and
caddisfly go whoop, which caddisflies kind of look like a moth. They have tented wings.
Could be an indication of degradation.
Yeah. It's still a healthy ecosystem in a way.
It's different.
But it's a different ecosystem.
What about trout with orange meat? Is that an indicator of a healthy ecosystem?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, that brook trout that I accidentally killed was very orange. And
so I hear that. I've heard that's an indicator because it means that there are aquatic, like essentially like small freshwater shrimp in the ecosystem.
Yeah, those are like. Mitch, you ever fish sow bugs?
Yeah. Wait, did I just say something, guys, about fly fishing you guys don't know about?
Definitely got him.
Nailed it.
Yeah, freshwater shrimp. If you fish tailwaters, like underneath dams or whatever, or anywhere really. Yeah, there's these little bugs called sow bugs, and those are freshwater shrimp. We use those patterns a lot.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, mainly for browns, but
that's such an interesting thing about fly casting to me is understanding what these fish are eating, what the hatch is, and all that kind of combination, because it's so much more than just the fish. It's like what's going on around you at the time, right?
You're putting yourself into the food chain. You're pretending to be an insect, basically. So you become prey until you land the fish. So it's like a really unique way to fish, because you're not just throwing some flashy spoon out and getting a fish on aggression or something.
All of that does happen.
It does happen, but like with a dry fly, like we're talking about, you're an insect, you're a mayfly. So.
And you got to make that. You got to tie them yourself to look. Really
if you want to be extra legit, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole other bag of beans. But,
well, that's the cool thing about fly fishing. I think, like in any outdoor pursuit, like you can pick what you can really get into. Like some guys get really into gear, fly rods, fly reels, line, casting. Some people get really into entomology. Learning about
don't know what that means.
Life cycle of bugs and all that stuff, and like Mitch said, become the prey. Some people get really into hydrology, understanding how rivers and lakes work.
Cool.
And we got to go fly fishing.
Yeah, we got to take you fishing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've never caught a steelhead before.
Yeah, well, we got to change that.
I used to go a lot of times, and somehow there was just too many people, or the water was too turbid, or it was too clear, and all these things just kept sucking, and like I just, I don't live really. The closest steelhead river to me is, I don't know, like too far south, really. Like there's not too many steelhead rivers in Georgia.
There's a couple on the North Shore there.
Water, I guess.
There's a couple on the North Shore for sure.
Is there?
Oh yeah, but again, you're still gonna have to drive like west of Sudbury.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, I'm up for that.
Okay, great. Yeah, we want to get you your first steelhead.
Yeah. You might have to reel it in for me.
No.
I don't have the best luck.
No, you're good.
I'm just going to tongue hook it, and it's going to die. It's not going to be good.
And then we'll eat it.
Okay, why don't we before we get into kind of the last section of the Mitchie's Fishies 5. It's the same 5 questions we ask every guest on the show. Before we get to that, I just have a couple questions about, back to expeditions and adventures. Do you find that coming back to normal life after an expedition is tricky? How do you adapt?
I remember one time coming back from the Moisey. So this is a pretty hardcore river, right? And a lot went into it. We had to raise the bar a lot to do this, and we ended up coming back, driving all the way. I was living in Toronto at the time. We're driving back from northern Quebec. I pulled into this gas station, on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Like, I'm looking to the left, I'm looking to the right. I'm like, why the F? I'm like, where are all these people coming from?
Yeah.
Why is this guy here? This guy's close to me. Like, and then I just realized this is just how it is here.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten that there's just these
You're
people
alone for
all the time. Yeah. But for the most part, especially when I do a big solo trip and I'm gone, I notice everything's funny. That's what, it's when you're going out and you're hanging out with your buddies and you're telling dick jokes around the fire and, you're laughing about something, right? But when you're by yourself, nothing's really that funny. And then you're out there for a month and you get back into town and, man, you're a good audience.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that isolation, right? When you're by yourself out there. That's what you said earlier is probably one of the hardest things about the mental game. When you're isolated.
And I never really experienced it on alone being in one position because every season they do something a little different. And my season there was 2 people. And so that really kind of changed things a bit because when I was by myself, it was at the beginning, and I lost a few lbs on that hike with the
Yeah.
And but I was still able to get food, and I was with my brother. But at least when I'm on my big solo trips, I'm traveling, I can get to the next fishing spot. I have enough, calories with me to go there and all that. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not really weirded out until the trip is, over 3 weeks long solo. Once you get past a month, it's a little bit weirder, but it's not like upsetting. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fun to get back to see people and stuff.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, we're going to get into Mitchie's Fishies 5 now. We're at an hour, and then we'll ask some questions from the audience. But these are the same 5 questions we ask every guest on the show. They're kind of just more like buzzer beater questions.
Okay.
So we're going to ask them now. They are fishing-ish, and then we've got 1 or 2 extras that are a little different. The first is, I kind of think I know the answer to this, but what is your favorite fish and why? If you had to pick a favorite fish.
Oh, geez, my favorite fish. Well, obviously we're talking about speckled trout. Like, I grew up on bass, but Atlantic salmon would probably be.
Okay.
I've only ever caught 1, and you can only catch them realistically on the fly, but I'd have to say those are probably the best.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Wild.
I mean, we don't have to get into this now. I always wonder why people don't catch them when they're still in the ocean. Because you can catch coho and Pacific strains of salmon in the ocean, and it just really happen.
I think it's because it's so much more hit and miss, and it's also you need a big boat, right? Like there's a lot more money necessary, and where do you park your boat? And all that, right?
Something about meeting them on their journey too. Really awesome.
Yeah, it's really
cool.
I'm with you, man. Atlantic salmon are incredible.
I mean, if people haven't seen it, the Bonaventure River trip that you took was awesome. If anybody, whether you fish or paddle or not, to see the Bonaventure River, which I have, and I've been lucky enough to fish.
Did you catch anything there?
A couple, yeah.
Oh, you jerk!
Sorry.
You're so nice not bringing that up. What a nice guy.
But
awesome.
it's one of the most spectacular rivers maybe on Earth. It's like, your boat is gliding over
a couple is in
air.
2 or not 3, right?
I hooked 3, landed 2. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But it's unreal, though. I agree.
It really is an unreal place. So I think watch Jim's video too. If you can get to the Bonaventure River, which is in the Gaspé Peninsula, that's pretty amazing.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's
the
so cool.
clearest water. It looks like you see a picture of me standing, and a lot of the rapids you have to pull. So
Right.
you can't paddle. You have to stand because if you sit, the water's only this thick, this deep.
Yeah.
So you can't steer your canoe. Plus, you can't see the rock. So when it's late season, you're standing. And I have a picture of my wife Tori, like in the canoe, standing, going over kind of a deep hole. you cannot tell there's any water
It
there
looks
at
like
all.
it's floating on air.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's
So
wild
clear.
how clear it is. Yeah. And obviously, I mean, if Atlantic salmon were easy to catch, it would be the easiest fishing ever because you're like,
You can see them
there are the
everywhere.
You can
fish.
see
They're right
hundreds of
there.
fish. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's wild.
Okay, number 2 is if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's going to be the best fishing
If the
ever,
conditions are
amazing,
primo.
you're going to catch fish.
Well, I'm only going to say this because I've been lucky enough to fish so many areas in Canada. So I'm going to go with Kamchatka Peninsula.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay. That
Or
got-
maybe Lake Baikal. I don't know.
Oh, nice. Also, very cool. Have you haven't been?
Never.
It got really popular in adventure fly fishing tourism to go to
Right.
Kamchatka like 15 years ago.
Really?
Some guy made a video about going in with like an old, like Cold War era helicopter. He like found these like Russian dudes,
Wow.
like military dudes, paid them
To take 'em.
into Kamchatka.
Just catch
It's
huge
also
fish.
just a cool place to go, but unfortunately, it's probably not the.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the war.
The nature is just incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
The taiga.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be a cool spot. And the species of fish too, like the tamian. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
Mongolia
yeah.
would be similar to that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, what are those things? They're like
Huge.
musky
They're salmonids,
They're
slash-
salmonids.
They're
They're salmonids.
They're salmonids, yeah.
But they look kind of like musky or something.
Dinosaurs, man.
Yeah.
They're just
and
so
they're
cool.
humongous.
Huge.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, Mongolia is a
God,
Yeah.
eh?
yeah. That's another trending fly fishing
Is it?
rich guy tourism
to go.
thing.
I seem to be able to pull off those
Yeah, I know.
things, eh?
I think it's coming.
Those-
Yeah, you
I
gotta
don't
get
know
up there.
about the guided things though. Those are a little spendy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing. You know what you're
Well, I could probably give someone a pitch that I'll promote them, but I just as much as those things are cool, man. I like to just get out there, and I might
Of
not catch
course.
as many big fish, but I like to get out there and just do an expedition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, we fell in love with Temagami in 2016 and
Yeah.
after tripping Algonquin all my early life. And yeah, it's one of our favorite places to go.
What do you fish for there mainly?
Mainly, well, in the fall, like you said, people make their pilgrimages to brook trout places. We'll fish for brookies in the fall and then bass and pike in the summer.
Nice. You do the Lady Evelyn?
Oh, yeah. Big
Nice.
time.
In the spring?
Always in the fall.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind going in the spring,
Yeah.
but I've done that trip several times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guided there for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Lots of
With
trout
with who?
Temagami Outfitting with that Tori works with Paddle Like a Girl.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, maybe I haven't floated the Lady Evelyn for a while, but man, that's a good one. Eh? Even in the
it's
summer,
beautiful.
you're not gonna. If you can find the spring, so we actually did good there midsummer because we found a couple springs, which is rare.
Yes.
But there was 2 spots, and we caught a couple specks. But anybody that wants to paddle a river in Temagami, man, the Lady Evelyn is freaking just phenomenal.
Beautiful.
You'll see so many waterfalls,
Yeah.
it'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
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 You feel like, well, you are out there. you
For
know?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
If you want to shoot a grouse too, it's not a bad place to do it.
No.
Yeah. Just saying.
Okay, number 3 is what is one of your best fishing memories ever?
Oh man, best fishing.
There's only a
memories
couple.
ever. Well, I'm gonna, I don't want to be redundant, but when I caught that Atlantic salmon.
Yeah.
See, it's just this magical species.
It is. Yeah.
Well,
Something about a migratory species that's really interesting.
Oh, okay, that was because we were starved and we needed the
okay.
food.
right. That would make it very good. Yeah.
Right. So we were, literally we had very, very little food. We were living basically a third of our calories off the land on this point, coming down the Adlatock River in Labrador. And the temperature went down to about, -5 one night, and the fish's metabolism just changed. Nothing was biting. The odd little hot dog sized fish. And we were at a stretch of the trip where we were putting out a lot of calories, and man, we were hungry. We had one dehydrated mountain house to split between 4 people per night. And then like maybe a little hot dog. Like you're like about the size of a silver dollar. I don't know. Maybe that ages me a bit.
Aren't we all the same age?
Well, yeah, because I'm not even. Yeah, I never. But like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is how big my portion was. Like, and here's your portion, Jim. I'm like, shouldn't I be getting more food because
Yeah.
I'm big? Well, that's not fair. I'm like, okay, if you carry as much weight as I do, then you should get to eat as much as I do.
Yeah.
And this, this went back and forth a few times. Nobody was hurt, but yeah. But then then I caught a 15.5-pound Atlantic salmon. My brother caught a 6-pound sea run speck, and we shot 2 geese.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was,
and you had a feast.
Feast to famine.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Yeah. This next one is, why do you fish? And I think from an expedition point of view, it's interesting because what about fishing for you makes you want to keep doing it and going back out there? Apart from, you're hungry, you haven't eaten, this Atlantic salmon's going to be right.
Just to annoy catch and release guys. Just kidding. Just
I love it.
That's totally not true at all. No, it's honestly it's the fishing, and I think it's something that strikes a primal chord in us.
Yeah.
I think that to know that you could go out there and you could get fish that you could eat, that's something that as a species we've been doing forever. So I think that's part of it, and also just being part of nature, guys. And at the end of the day, I put out my videos, and I'm the hero in my own story, but I don't want to be the hero in everybody else's story. When I'm putting out my videos, I want people to come along and see those videos and watch them and take something from those videos to continue on in their own journey. Whether it comes to be connecting with nature, to be, and everything, the skills that you need to do that along the way, feeling that, what is a more pure feeling than getting out there, getting into a pretty remote area, catching a fish, cooking it up over the fire that you light yourself, right? I mean, that's a pretty special experience, and I just hope that I can, be somebody that inspires people or maybe teaches them a few steps to doing it for themselves,
Definitely are.
Well, and just before we get to another one, I think, part of the reason you achieved that, whether you're trying or not, was like, at least, especially in your earlier videos, you were using gear that you just had. And I think, there's a lot of I've been working on this theory called the Bear Grillsification of the outdoors, where everything's it has to be like this brand, or it's got to look this polished. And, canoe tripping isn't polished, it doesn't look that way. And, obviously we have our sponsors and we all look cool and stuff, but, you definitely don't need that to get out there. And that comes across in your videos in a good way. I'm not like, oh, Jim's a dirtbag. Cool. I mean, you use gear that is accessible and is accessible, and you make it look accessible. And I think, whether that's conscious or not, it's achieved, and I think hats off to you for that one.
Yeah, and at the same time, some of that fishing gear I use is because it's durable.
Yeah, like an ugly stick.
Exactly.
You can't break a friggin' ugly stick.
No. I went fishing with a buddy, a friend of me and my friend Terry, who's actually here right now. And I picked up a rod. He said, "That's my rod." I'm like, "No, that's my rod." He said, "No, that's my rod." And then I'm bigger than him, so he's like, "Fine, it's your rod." Anyways, turns out the guy has the exact same rod and reel, exact same, with the same color line too. And when you just get out there enough, that this is
gonna work. Yeah.
This is for tripping, for when you're beating stuff up, and you don't want your stuff to break when you're in the bush. That this is a good thing to have.
Tried and true.
Yeah.
But anyway, I always admired that about your YouTube videos.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, because it wasn't just the most perfect, most expensive stuff,
It's real tripping expeditions.
Yeah, it's real. It feels real.
People
and maybe it felt
it.
real because, we have tripped in our lives, but not as much as you, obviously.
Thanks. Yeah.
The last Mitchie's Fishies 5 is, if you were a fly pattern or a lure, a fishing lure, what would you be and why?
We're in a very trout time of year, being the opener and all that, but I think I would be a number 2 Mepps Black Fury Orange Dot skirted.
Why?
Well, because it's just a smash fest lure.
I love it.
And you're both got orange in you.
It's a great lure.
Orange on you.
Catches fish.
Well, I'm Protestant, I guess. But my brother and I both fished one with, I fished the unskirted and he fished the skirted side by side, and he outfished me, and it's not because he's better than me, right? But
where is he anyway?
But anyways, I'm telling you, that the skirted, it's worth the extra couple bucks, man. And I, from that, I also a big fan of. It's tough to say, but just
It's not your favorite lure. It's who. If Jim Baird was a lure.
Yeah. Oh, if Jim Baird was a lure. Well, I'd probably be a Bondi bait.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
You know what those are? Those $30 lures that are this big.
Oh, like for musky
jigging.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, we'll stick with the maps.
That's amazing. Well, do we want to see if there's questions from the audience?
But maybe before that,
Yeah. But while we grab that.
obviously, Jim, you
can
have
bring it on
a
over
big.
there, yeah.
You've got a big channel, and obviously your followers know you very well. But maybe some of ours don't. And we
Yeah.
do have a lot of Americans listening to us. About 60% of our audience. So where can people find your stuff?
Yeah, so check me out on YouTube, Jim Baird Adventurer, and got a lot of good stuff up there.
Hell
and
yeah.
Of course, I'm on Facebook and Instagram too, at JB Adventurer. You can check me out in those two places. I post all kinds of stuff. My website is theadventurer.com. Yeah, so there's some articles and stuff out there. I'm actually coming out with an ebook too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's more or less a gathering of all my printed articles that ran in Field and Stream, Men's Journal, Explore Outdoor Canada, but also a bunch of stuff that was never published, all in one place. So you can buy that online.
That's awesome. I had no idea you wrote for Field and Stream. That's so cool.
Kind of a big deal.
I know. I'm really trying not to freak out. we did we were joking before. Mitch loved Survivor Man and Les Stroud, and we met him once, and he was trying to keep us cool, and I was like, okay, whatever. And now I'm trying to keep us cool, and Mitch is like, yeah, no, Jim's cool.
I mean, Les Stroud, Jim Baird, about the same plane there, fame, right?
Oh, yeah, brother.
No,
Big time.
I don't think so. But
Oh,
anyways,
no?
Thanks, guys.
Well, for me, yeah, definitely.
yeah.
But
I
it
appreciate
was
that.
really cool. I just want to say a big thanks for doing that. Obviously, Muskoka Brewery putting all this together. We'll
Yeah.
get to these questions, but yeah, no, thanks for coming on the show. It means a lot.
Yeah.
When we started this podcast 10 years ago, we were trying to inspire people to explore Ontario, and meeting people that do the same is all part of the game, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Okay, a couple of questions we'll ask here, and then rock and roll. We'll go have a couple of beers and chat. The first is, where is Ted? That was the first question.
Oh, Ted. Actually, Ted was going to make it up here, but Ted's busy doing his own thing, man. The guy's man. We were talking yesterday. We're going to be freaking rafting the Grand Canyon together, and hopefully he blew out his back the other day.
Where are you putting in?
Lee's Ferry.
Oh, man, dude. Unreal rainbow
Beautiful.
trout fishing.
Really?
I fished Lee's Ferry once and camped Lee's Ferry. The water is emerald green, and the rainbows are massive.
Gotta bring a fly rod.
Gotta bring that. Probably not. Just kidding.
Just bring
No,
the
just
maps.
kidding.
No, he actually wants to catch
I'll
something.
bring. No,
exactly.
I'll for sure bring.
Oh,
one.
no. Lee's Ferry is magical.
Beautiful.
It's one of the only places you can drive down to the base of the canyon.
Yeah. Wow. Right. And that's why we're starting there, so we don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. And
Oh,
then
you're gonna
before
love it.
that, probably next week, as soon as the ice is out and where my camp is, me and Ted are going to be heading up there and doing probably about a week-long trip. He just blew out his back though, so he might not be on that one. So maybe he's just at home icing his back right now. To answer your question.
Okay.
Well, we
get,
miss you, Ted.
get better.
Get better. Feel better. We'll see you next time. Would you go back on a loan? Where would you want it to be?
I mean, maybe somewhere where it's easy to catch rock bass. I
Why
really.
why do people give up on fishing so easy on a loan? Sometimes I'm just like, keep fishing.
One more cast,
Like you keep eating rabbits.
Yeah.
I would have liked the even though it was cold, I would have liked to be up on Great Slave. I think that would have been the best for me.
That was a cool season. Was that the season where the guy killed the what was it? It was a
orangutan.
no,
It was a wild episode.
no. It was a wolverine that kept getting his stash, and then he killed, and then another one came after he killed.
He shot a wolverine with his arrow that kept coming to eat all
His fat
food,
store,
and then
yeah.
he shot it and it pinned it to the ground. And he beat it to death with his axe. He also got a.
And then there was another one that came after.
Oh yeah, and it ended up eating all his meat. Or that was Jordan, but they did 2 seasons there. So yeah, it looked for sure tough go, but also just more along the lines of an area that I'm familiar with, that I know I could actually get food, and that there's actually is a lot of food there. So,
But would you do a loan again?
I think so. Yeah. Well,
Yeah?
just honestly, just for bragging rights at this point.
I mean, yeah.
know.
It's another name on the Stanley Cup, you know?
I love it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
This one is, what is your earliest camping memory? One of your earliest camping memories ever?
Oh, geez, that's tough to remember. I remember maybe me and my dad. We went. Me and my dad and my brother. We canoed down this river called the Little Mississippi, that flows out of Lake Wessamacoon, and we made it to this little rapid, and we got there late, and it was dark, and there's these caves behind us, and I remember being kind of scared of these caves, and my dad just being like, "Oh, you know, it's fine, guys. Don't worry about it." And we got a fire going and paddled back the next day. I don't remember how old I was, but yeah, it was just, you know, doesn't take a lot to, especially with kids, to just kind of, you know, instill some sort of love of the outdoors in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like this one a lot. What's your favorite waterfall?
Well, I mean, Virginia Falls in the Nahanni. Right? It's the largest waterfall in Canada, about twice the height of Niagara. So
on such a wild river too.
Yeah. But I forget what it's called on the. There's another beautiful one. The name's escaping me on that comes into the Cascade Falls. It's called on the North Shore Superior, because it pours right off this ledge right into the lake.
Oh, that's
wow!
So you just see it pouring into the lake. It's pretty cool.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do one more here maybe, and then we'll, you know, have some bathroom breaks.
Okay.
Who is your favorite outdoor YouTuber other than Tori and Ted?
Other than Tori and Ted,
and of course the SoFly podcast.
Jim Baird Adventurer, of course.
Oh, not the SoFly podcast? Okay, thanks.
Sorry, yeah, I'll get to your guys' stuff. You know, that's a good question. Who's my favorite outdoor YouTuber? Geez, you know, I don't watch as much as I'd like to because I'm so busy doing all my own stuff.
For sure.
So I don't really have an answer. There's so many guys that I, you know, love to see them getting out there and doing their thing. Yeah,
that's a good point, actually. Yeah. You know, we might have not touched on it in the show. You edit all your own stuff.
Well, actually,
do you?
This winter I was, but I'm on and off. Depends on if I have time. But yeah, I have. Now I'm actually working with 2 different editors. Well, actually, technically 3, because one guy has a sidekick or whatever. Yeah, so I was for a very long time. I might start doing more of it. I don't know, but yeah,
it's a phenomenal workload.
Yeah. It is. It's a lot. It's just 3 days. Just to edit like a 3-day trip is like 3, 10, 12-hour days, especially if you're like me and you're easily distracted. You know what I mean?
We also have 2 kids.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to they need to be fed, unfortunately, and stuff like that. Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, but it's a if anybody works in production, it's a crazy amount of work.
Yeah.
It's also a crazy amount of work to film while you're doing what you're doing. You know, you're like, you paddle halfway down the lake, and you're like, well, time to go get the camera, turn around, get it, you know, and then move on. It's amazing.
Right. Well, they say that your what is it? Your passion, when you find your passion and you use that to help other people, that's how you find your purpose, right? So my passion is the outdoors, and you know, I love sharing that with other people to help them connect with, entertain them, but also help them along their own journeys and to connect with that, be closer to nature, learn the things they need to do, get there to feel that feeling. And so that's, I think, why, because I'm so passionate about it and it's my purpose, that I can do all that work and it doesn't feel like it's that much work, if that makes sense.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you could go back and give, you know, yourself, your younger self, one piece of advice, what would it be? Few
things that would have just been funny, but probably not appropriate for the podcast. I think it would just be like believe in yourself. You can do it. You know, you can do it. I think that's something we should all tell ourselves more often.
Amazing, Jim. It's been an honor. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much.
For coming We did it. We held our breath again for another hour and like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Crazy, dude.
It is crazy. That was super fun getting to talk to Jim. He's a super cool guy. You look into his eye. I remember when we met him for the first time, I looked into his eyes. I'm like, I see just nature in his eyes. Like, he just looks like a guy that commands the elements, you know? First of
Yeah.
all, he's huge compared to me. I was like, hello, and and he's just got, he's literally seen some shit out there in the bush.
He is a mountain of a man.
Yeah,
Like, I know we're not very tall people or very big
so
people.
it's like extra,
but,
you know what
but
I
it's
mean?
like extra for us.
Yeah.
But it was
nicest
so nice,
dude, man, nicest dude.
so nice, and it was so lovely meeting literally almost his entire
Yeah.
family,
Mhm.
like Tori, the kids,
Yep.
his
wife and
mom,
kids, his mom.
his Uncle Steve.
Yeah.
It was great, and I
Yeah.
really, obviously, big thanks to, I think we said it on the live show, but if we didn't, Kira from Muskoka Brewery really,
thank you,
really,
Kira.
connected the dots with this one.
Yeah. She planned out an awesome event, and it was, despite a cold and rainy day, a whole bunch of people showed up, and we had a blast. So Kira, nice work.
Nicely done, and it was cool getting to. I mean, I look up to Jim. I've been watching his content for years, and I think it's a lot similar to you meeting Survivor Man.
Yeah, totally.
Les Stroud. I was like a little, maybe not starstruck, but I was like, wow, like how cool is it that we get to meet these people and talk to them about brook trout,
after spending, countless hours watching them.
Yeah.
You get to talk to them, and pick their brain, ask some questions. It's super fun. It's funny because I'm going to go backwards and watch Alone Jim's season now.
Oh, yeah?
I've been meaning to do it for a while, and I'm like, let's do it, because hearing him talk about it and stuff, I was like, man, this
we mentioned on the show, his
challenge.
brother Ted's pretty amazing too. And he, unfortunately, he wasn't there that day because I guess he's dealing with a back issue. But Ted's a pretty cool dude, and as well, and watching them, work together and film a lot of these videos together too is really, really cool and funny. Like, it adds a funny little element.
His YouTube channel is amazing. I mean, he does crazy stuff, and I'd love to work with him on my other side of things, because I know he does stuff with Skidoo. So I'd be sick to like do something with him on Skidoo, man. Can you imagine? That'd be freaking awesome,
dude. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, he rocks Skidoos.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
He's a BRP guy.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man. I mean, like, that's just it for that. I was really happy with the event. Of course, the day after, we woke up to like the nicest day on earth.
It was beautiful.
It was like 16 and sunny in Bracebridge,
summer,
Ontario. It was amazing. Of course.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. How she goes. It's the way she goes, boys.
Yeah, and we're here in fishing season now. It's May. Trout's open.
Yes, trout is open.
Weather's warming up. I just had my motorcycle out. I just came into your house.
I know. I dropped off some microphones.
To be
How'd
back.
that feel, eh?
Oh, so good to be back doing fun summer things. Fishing soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am doing a little float with Josh on the fly tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
It's gonna be my first
outing of the year.
My first outing of the year. If you don't count
for trout.
At the top of the show you mentioned BGOW. I was out with Demisha on Tuesday at the Franklin Club.
Also, thanks to the Franklin Club for Sotos, by the way, for donating that awesome 2-day fishing thing. That's wicked. Or fishing day for 2, rather. Thank you, Franklin
hot
Club.
off the press.
What?
We got Tim Posinger.
Oh, Tim, look at that with the beef.
Actually,
got himself a big fish.
Thanks to Tim for designing the t-shirts that we sold at the...
Yeah, he designed these really cool pike t-shirts for us.
Sotos, and it looks like he's into the brown trout. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see
Tim.
me.
Nice catch. Man, that's a nice fish, Tim. Dang.
Fish, damn.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's multiple.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and everyone's amped because it's trout season and the weather is cool.
Yeah.
But beautiful, and I'm excited to get on the water tomorrow with Josh. We're expecting some rain.
Nice.
And Josh is stoked for that because he said it really fires up.
Yeah.
The browns on the particular river that we're going to tomorrow.
Ooh la la. Ooh la la. I'm going to go out Friday or Saturday or Sunday or something on the weekend when everybody's out. I'm going to go out.
We're going to go when peak
time.
Peak time.
Yeah.
Are you all set? You've got like the flies?
No, not really. I've got to organize my stuff tomorrow. I'm going to do that this week once I get some big old checkpoints at work done. I'm gonna do that maybe tomorrow night. But I'm thinking about them dries and I was just talking to Idis about dry time a second ago. He saw some interesting dry activity the other day when he was fishing on a river that gets a little warmer a little earlier. But
Okay.
next
Yep.
couple weeks, we're going to be getting into it.
Yeah, May's big for us when for resident trout because it gets so hot so quick
It's
here.
so hot, so quick.
So
Yeah.
May you gotta take your
Got to take them when you can get them.
yeah. I gotta think what I'm trying to say. You gotta go when you flow.
Go when you flow. Go when you flow. Well, thank God for spring.
Thank God for spring. Do you have like a thing you want to like do?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like I think like, do you have like a trout goal?
No, go out, catch fish. Catch a fish as soon as possible. And if I don't catch a fish in the first 20 minutes of my first outing, I'm quitting. That's my goal. I'm not going to fish ever again. Okay?
Well, these are good goals.
What about you? What's your
Quitting.
goal? Quitting.
I kind of find I'll get away from the Euro nymphing thing.
Okay,
I feel like it's such a
Good idea.
crutch.
Well, definitely.
It
Well,
just
it's-
works so fucking well.
Yeah, it's extremely crutchable. Because you can just crush fish. It's a crushable thing.
How I get away from that, I don't really know.
Dry flies only.
That'd be cool.
I'm
All
thinking
I do
about
is-
just doing that.
All I do is fish dry flies.
I'm thinking about just doing that.
We caught so many fish. Actually, on that note, we caught so many fish at the Franklin Club that I started putting hoppers on. And I was just like, it's got to work.
Of course.
And I got some swipes, but I didn't get any takers.
You didn't get any eats?
Oh my God. It was awesome.
Surprised.
We
I'm
caught
kind of surprised by that because there's so many fish in there, right?
Oh, many fish.
Yeah. Like I know it's colder and it's still early and stuff, but like throw a
And
big hopper to a
tanks,
big
just
old tank.
tanks.
Yeah.
There's some tanks. We pulled up some tanks.
Yeah.
We caught a tagged fish, and Emma from the club was saying that there's only like 4 fish that are tagged.
What? So did you win a
But-
prize?
No, it's
Membership for life.
imagine.
Imagine. You caught one of the 4 membership for life fish.
That'd
Oh my
be
God, what?
hilarious. No, one of the students caught one of these fish, and they're tagged because they go into the pond at over 10 pounds.
Wow.
This fish was a unit, dude.
It's a huge fish, man. That would be crazy. I always thought that would be a cool thing, like some lottery where it's like they tag one fish, in the world with like the golden tag. And if you catch it, you win like $1 billion or something. Wouldn't that be
Like
so
some-
crazy?
Like some sort of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory type fish.
Yeah, I've got the golden fish.
I have the golden fish.
10 pounds. That's crazy, man. It's
They-
a beautiful place, eh, Franklin?
Yeah, and they have a hatchery on site.
Yeah. Kind of
So-
like Bing. Bing Retreat kind of had that going too.
Yeah, so all the fish are raised there, and it's so clean and it's so well run, and
Yeah.
the fish are so healthy. And yes,
Yeah.
it's a stock pond. Okay.
Yeah.
But I love that they open up their facilities
Yeah.
to this outdoor education program. It's a
Yeah.
public school, right?
Yeah.
And like
To get the data
to
to
get-
fly fish,
get the data. Like we spend 2 days with the students. They fly fit. We spend 1 day teaching them about. It's more of like an in-class thing. We teach them about obviously the mechanics of fly fishing, fly rods. We had Ontario Streams on hand. They were talking about stream ecology and biodiversity, and then obviously all the work that they do. And then we do some casting on like the soccer field of the school.
Yeah.
And then to get them actually fishing the next day in a pond loaded with trout is amazing because it's such quick positive feedback, and then they get to fight fish and learn how to fight fish, and they like within a few of the students already fished,
Yeah.
and to have them like connect on a pretty sizable trout
On the fly.
and then they're netting each other's fish. It was awesome. They're having a
Yeah, that
blast.
sounds fun.
And it's a couple of them were like, I think I could see myself buying a fly rod. One of the students, Abby, she already fly fished.
Oh, sick.
She was just getting into it, but had last week caught her first steelhead.
Oh, nice. What?
Yeah,
That's
I know.
awesome.
16-year-old
So
kid.
she was like, she didn't need to be taught anything. She was She was teaching the other kids.
I just had to dial her casting, but she was ripping fish. It was
Yeah.
amazing. And but yeah, I just thought it was such a nice thing for the Franklin Club to do, you know.
Oh, big time. Yeah. It is.
Because
I
I
have to do that. You know?
I doubt if they're compensated, I doubt they're compensated that much. You know,
Yeah. It's a public school. Yeah.
financially. It's,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
in terms of funding. So it's a huge help, and I think it's a really special day for the kids. And actually, one of the students, Billy, had got Emma's contact because he wants to be their co-op student for the summer. So that's pretty awesome.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be a
Yeah.
cool job.
Yeah,
Like summer job. Yeah.
this was definitely out of the 3 years the most stoked group of kids for sure,
Rad.
which was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Anyway, yeah, I think I want to use you. Anyway, I want to use your own nymphing less.
Yeah, fair enough, man. You know, hey, you know, if you're over it, you're over it. Do something else. Try something else. I do want to stream. I do want to get on the streamer a little
That's
bit
kind of
more.
what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I might tomorrow with Josh. I might be like,
Just do a little more streaming.
because he's the streamer daddy.
But it all depends, right? Like it's like I basically very rarely go to the river with the intention of fishing streamers. So
Same.
I might dabble a little bit early season, you know, just a little fun. Mostly because I got that fiberglass 6-weight butter stick that I feel like could be a fun little streamer rod, to be honest.
Stick de burr.
Yeah, because like I had it for like I was fishing bass on it last year, but I feel like it could be a good light bass rod. But I feel like for this, get it out on the river and do some streamer for trout. Could be fun. Maybe a day or two when the conditions are right. But otherwise, yeah, I'm looking forward to some dry time, baby.
I know, me too. Dry time is so good. Well, I'll definitely bring some dry flies because some weird things happen, you know, at this time of year.
Yeah, no, totally. And like you said, you never know. Maybe there's just a fish like hitting something for some reason. You're like, I don't know what that is, but you put on like a big purple haze or something, and it's just like, sure. You never know, right?
I do love that fly.
Me too. I do too, and it's an odd one.
Yeah, but parachute.
Parachute. Yeah, I love a good parachute dry over other things. But we hope everybody's enjoying their start to the season, and thanks for listening to the show. And again, Jim, thanks for coming on. It was awesome to get to chat to you. It was a super fun time, and maybe we could do it again one day. And maybe we can go fishing sometime. You know, we got to get Jim. We got to get him to go fishing with us. That's going to be the trick next.
Well,
Get him steelheading or something.
He said, you know, he's been out steelheading a bunch, never caught one, so we should make that a goal.
Yeah.
The trick, it's not that he doesn't want to, it's just that his schedule's so busy.
Oh,
He's
I know.
like filming
He's a busy
stuff
guy.
all the time.
Busy guy, and he's got many adventures ahead of him.
I like that
but-
his like official title is adventurer.
It's like, I know it's crazy. It's like, but that's what he is. That's what he does.
That's what he is. In 2025, we can still adventure.
Oh yeah. Big time. Big time. Push the limits of what human can do, where they can
What
go,
human can do
what they can see, and how they can dream.
here.
And that is another podcast for y'all. Thank you so much for listening. That's it for me, Midge. Olive.
That's it for me. Go to the beer store and buy yourself a survival pack from Muskoka Brewery because it's
Summer's
out
here.
now with Jim's beer.
And it's really good. Love it. We're at Take Care and
Comb.
your hair.
See, I flipped it on you there.
You did. It kind of threw me off.